This is the interview of Lvgi. It's Devon Diaz, who's the Chief Operating Officer, who's going to be with us, and it's Limitless Venture Group Incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and read a brief safe harbor statement. Our discussion may include predictions, estimates, and other information that might be considered forward-looking. While these forward-looking statements represent the company's current judgments of what the future holds, they are subject to risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially. You are cautioned not to place undue reliance on these forward-looking statements, which reflect opinions only as of the date of this presentation. Please keep in mind that the company is not obligating themselves to revise or publicly release the results of any revision of these forward-looking statements in light of new information or future events. Throughout today's discussion, we will attempt to present some important factors relating to the company's business that may affect any predictions. I'm here with Devon Diaz. You are the COO of Limitless Venture Group. And I understand you're with Joe FRANCELLA. Is that correct?
FRANCELLA.
FRANCELLA. Okay. Yeah. The CEO of Limitless Venture Groups, and we're happy to have you guys with us. So, Devon, if you could tell us a little bit about your background with the company, and also just your background in general.
Sure. So, I'm a recovering engineer. I got a degree in engineering and did that for a while, and then decided to take the easy road in life and become an entrepreneur. And
nice.
Yeah, less stress, right?
Right.
And got into a couple of businesses. I franchised 2 businesses successfully. Ended up in Tulsa. That's a long story. Met up with Joe, and Joe was the CEO of Lvgi, and we started talking about, how can we build Lvgi to become a better, stronger company. We had a bunch of ideas. We just started tinkering, and before we knew it, we had some momentum in becoming a publicly traded holding company. And now we have a couple subsidiaries, and we're looking at acquiring more.
Awesome. And Joe, since you're there, you want to give us a background on yourself?
Sure. Well, I've been CEO of Limitless since 2014. I came in and took over the company at the request of the ex-CEO, who left with one of the products, actually the only product the company had at the time. And okay. I've been moving the company forward. We've gone through a couple of different modifications, and we've settled on it being a holding company. I've been involved with publicly traded companies since the 90s, helping them become public, raise capital, and that's what I've been doing here. We've spent a lot of time. We've gotten fortunate. We now have an institutional investor who has invested in us to help us acquire the companies we have, and he's looking forward to working with us in the future. So we're in a great position right now.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, and then can you give us a background on Lvgi? So you said it's a holding company. What are we currently holding, and what do we see in the future?
Well, we've got 3 subsidiaries right now. We've got Jasper, which is an MGU, which is a type of insurance company specifically for third-party administrators. We've got a keto company, Keto Sports, which has keto products. And our most profitable company is Broken Vapes, which is a vape company specifically for the cannabis and CBD industries. That's the company that we're working closest with right now. And moving forward, they've got some great opportunities at hand, and we're looking for big things from them this year.
And they did about 1.3 million closing the year, and we think they're going to be on track to do about 3 million this next year. So we're very excited to be working with them. They've got incredible connections in the cannabis industry. They're very well, they have a lot of knowledge with all the different laws for all the different states. And they're going to be a great team contributor as we grow the company if we decide to move into the cannabis space more in depth. So,
right. Well, yeah, and I saw on your Twitter, I did a little due diligence while I was preparing for the interview, that you guys are also looking into some sort of growth that's out in the Midwest. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's interesting. Oklahoma is now about 3 years into their grow market. And there's a lot of opportunities coming up that a lot of people that came out from Colorado and Northern California decided they thought they could just build it and they will come. And what we're realizing is that they're starting to wean out. So the opportunities are definitely there for a grow. We're just looking for the right one. We don't want to jump into one that's that doesn't have the right master growers, doesn't have business sense. A lot of these grows, they just lack that business capability, and
Sure.
we really want to do the best thing for our investors and to find the right growth. So we're constantly, researching and doing our due diligence, and we've become very good at asking the right questions now.
Right.
And we're getting some great answers, and Joe and I will get in the car afterwards. We're like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, my understanding of the industry, and I've got some friends that deal in the extraction side of things, is that it's a little bit like the Wild West, and it's finding the proper partners and doing the due diligence is very important. So
Not just
yeah, I congratulate you guys on doing that.
Yeah, not just doing the due diligence, but they have to understand that they're going to become part of a publicly traded company. And the way they
Right.
used to do business, which is handshakes and cash under the table and be out the back door, has to go away. So the minute we try to explain that to them, they start to get really, pale in the face too. So,
Sure. Sure. Well, yeah, especially with the way that current federal regulations are and everything else. Yeah, I
yeah,
totally understand that.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Roken is definitely the main focus right now, and do they have some sort of specific? Is something that is it patentable? Is it something that's special to Roken that creates this special? Is there like a technology? Is there something that's
Yeah.
special to Roken?
So Roken is an amazing company. They've got a terrific team. It's the family. It's the father and the two brothers, and they used to run one of the largest distributors for Sunglass Hut, and had their own sunglasses stores years ago. So they really understand retail, distribution, inventory management, and control. One of the brothers is sort of the entrepreneur. He really is connected in the market, understands what's going on, the needs. He works closely with the marketing department. He's the CEO of Roken. And then the other brother is a nuclear engineer, so he's got all the CAD systems at his fingertips.
Right.
And when they come up with concepts, what they do is they develop it in the CAD systems. Then they produce molds here in the United States. They do their testing, they get their validations, they do their QA/QC, and then when they've got good feedback from their test subjects, then they package the blueprints up and send them to a manufacturer that then mass manufactures them. So a lot of their technology is under patent pending or patented. Or they'll work with other vape companies to help them strengthen their offerings as well, so that they do almost like white label back and forth between different companies on a couple of different products. So it's really interesting how this vape battery market works, and that there's only a few players left out there because of the different laws that restrict how vape products are shipped and sold.
Right.
Because of the tobacco industry has really put a clamp on how things are distributed in the United States from the vape side of things. But that's what these guys do best. They've created their own specific database to manage all of the different legalities throughout the United States. And these are things that other smaller vape manufacturers just can't handle. So they've been going out of business. So eventually we see them, there's only going to be a handful of players in the market. In fact, there's some international players that have contacted Roken to distribute on their behalf, because Roken has all of the legalities under control, and they can get their products distributed throughout the United States without as many problems as some of the other players out there.
Okay. Wow. And just so I want to clarify this for not only myself but also everybody else, is Roken just making the hardware, the vape device itself and the batteries, or are they also making the actual extracts and fluids that are used in the vape machine or technology?
They are only making the battery and the vape product. It's just at this point we're focused on building the distribution channels, really making those connections that are important, and getting to the dispensaries that are out there and making sure they know the brand name. So
Right. Okay, understood. How profitable are your subsidiaries for Lbgi?
So the challenge that we've found is that we've been investing more in young startup companies instead of companies that have had, an ongoing revenue stream. Roken right now is absolutely just on fire. Keto Sports took a hit with the COVID shutdowns. We're trying to get them back on their feet and get them recovered. And Jasper, it's going to take a little while because they just it's a brand new startup, and unfortunately, it takes a year because their insurance is basically healthcare insurance. It literally takes until December-ish to start getting any annuities in. So it's been a hit and miss with Jasper. We're still trying to work with them, but who knows what's in the future? We'll figure that one out. So, but the real one that we're excited about, and the one that we feel we got a real winner, was Roken. And again, they're on track to do some incredible numbers. And just because they're in a unique situation where a lot of vape companies are going out of business right now, because of the legalities, they've got a unique situation where, like I said, a lot of these manufacturers out of Canada and other countries are coming to them and saying, "Hey, can you distribute our products for us? Because we just don't want to deal with the legalities of all this."
Right. That's awesome. Quickly, we talked about Keto Sports. What does Keto Sports actually do? What are the products or the functionality of the company?
So Keto Sports was started by a gentleman called Patrick Arnold, and Patrick Arnold, he was the guy who pretty much built Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire, and unfortunately it's kind of a bad cloud. But the interesting thing is that he's an organic chemist, and he really understood how to bring the nutrients to the body to help it grow properly. Well, not properly, but bigger, right? And so,
right.
And unfortunately, he got wrapped up in that mess, and
Sure.
he licked his wounds. And there was a great article written in the Atlantic a couple years ago on him. And if anybody can download that, it's Patrick Arnold, the Atlantic, and Keto, and it was just a fantastic article about how NASA came back and said, "Hey, how are we going to feed these people if we get them on Mars? What are they going to eat? How we only got so much room in a spaceship." And,
Right.
And one of the doctors at JPL was basically said, "Listen, I know this guy. This guy could, if he could synthesize something, it's definitely going to be Patrick Arnold. This guy knows his stuff." So Patrick came up with a Keto Salt, and and basically it's the Keto Salt is for people that are on either a diet where they don't want to go through the 2 weeks of trying to get their body into ketosis and have keto flu and all that kind of stuff. This keto supplement helps spark the body into ketosis without having to do the 2-week diet. But also it's more of an endurance product. So I'm an athlete. I played rugby for 25 years. I'm a little older now, but I still like to go out and run with the young kids and play 2-hand touch version. And I need a little extra boost these days. And every once in a while, I was like, "Hey, I'll try the Keto Force," and I have that drink a couple hours before I go and play. And wow, it's incredible the energy boost you get. It's just amazing. And all the young kids are like, "Dang, you're fast," and I'm like, "Yeah, right."
So
30 seconds.
So that product also has the added benefit, though, of the minerals that are needed to kind of keep the keto flu away, though, as well. You're saying
exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I've actually done an 11-day fast, so I've been through that process, and I used something that sounds similar that had I think it was magnesium and a few other nutrients in it that actually help your body keep the headaches away and all that kind of stuff. So that's interesting. It sounds like a really cool product.
Well, what's really cool, I have to be very careful what I say because I don't want to make any medical statements that are unjustified.
Yeah.
But if you go out and do the research, there's a lot of papers written on the benefits of keto. The Mayo Clinic has done years and years and years of study on epilepsy and keto and Alzheimer's and keto and diabetes and keto. And I suggest everybody take a look at that because there's a lot of really great research. I had an opportunity to sit down with Patrick and write some some blogs with him, just sort of, go through. He said, here, take this and help me make it more English, because, it's very technical. And so I did a bunch
Sure.
of research, and there's some great stuff going on with keto these days that people are just not seeing. And even cancer patients, the doctors have realized that cancer cells feed on sugars, right? So if you're high carb, high sugar, and you're in chemotherapy, you're not doing yourself, you're not helping benefit yourself the best way you can, right? So introducing ketones and trying to use keto as a method to slow the cancer it could help, right? Can't say it will.
Well, and that makes sense why, there's also suggestions that fasting is good in the situation as well. It gets you back to basics.
Yep.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Without getting too technical, but it sounds like a very interesting product. So very cool. So you guys have expressed on Twitter that you guys are continuously putting your own personal money into Lvgi, and we can only assume that's because you guys obviously believe in the potential success of the company. Can you guys expand on that a little bit?
So it's interesting that you asked that question. I did a lot of coaching in my first business. I had to go raise some venture capital. I was living in Southern California, so it was a little bit easier for me at that point to go out and learn how to raise angel and venture, and I learned quite a bit. And I started coaching other startups after that here's how you would go about looking for angel and VC money. And I started to explain to people, I have a couple fundamental rules of business. One of them is you got to believe. If you believe, your investors believe, your employees believe, everybody around you believes. But if you have one hint of doubt, people will walk away, right? You have to believe more than anybody. And so Joe and I, we believe. We've been here. I've been here 3 years. Joe's been here, 8, 9 years? And we absolutely believe in this. There's no reason why Lvgi can't be an incredible company in the future. And even today, we've got such a great mentality of, we want to hire some great people. We want to bring in some great subsidiaries. We just want to do good things. That's really the point of this. Is let's give people opportunities to improve their health, to feel good about investing in a company that's just not your typical corporate America company. So,
yeah, definitely. All right. So next question is about dilution. It's a frightening word to investors. Many people and many investors obviously see it as a bad thing, and for the most part, it probably is. However, we also know that it's a necessary evil if you're trying to raise capital and use it for the right things. So if you guys can talk about, raising funds and utilizing it for your business growth and what you guys are doing to not only fight dilution and bad capital raises, but just tell us about what you guys are doing. There's an offering I see that's set at 2 cents, and what's the reasoning and the benefits for that?
Well, again, one of the main reasons companies go public is to have access to raise capital. And you raise capital
Absolutely.
for your equity. Your equity is cash, it's dollars. The key is to balance the raise against what you're doing with the capital. The one thing that I have always said about the company, and the nice part of when I got involved, I started putting my money in to pay some of the initial bills. We have no debt that was hanging over our heads back in the day before we got involved with acquiring the companies, that whatever money was raised was used towards going forward. And that's what I had always told everybody. If you get involved and you put money in, we're not taking money for back salaries. I went 5 years or 6 years without taking a salary. I had a $1 a year salary. That's how much I believed in this company. And while I was doing that, I was putting my own money into it to keep it going, to pay the bills that needed to get paid. So the belief is here. We've had to lower our Reg A price from 5 cents to 2 cents because the market, it wasn't there for us to raise capital at 5 cents. the market has dropped, our share price has dropped, so we had to drop the price of the Reg A so that we could raise capital to pay for the things that the corporation now has. We're a much bigger corporation than we were when I first took over. We've got the 3 subsidiaries. We acquired them because I was able to convince an institutional investor to get involved with us. They loaned us over $1 million to this point in time, including interest, which we've used to make the acquisitions. And going forward, the capital we're raising is going towards additional expansion of the subsidiaries that we have and towards acquiring additional companies. We just, again, have to balance and make sure that for every dollar we're borrowing or we're raising through our Reg A or however we're raising the capital, that it gets us dollars on the books and gets us to start generating profit dollars to help us pay it back so that we don't have to continue using the equity in the company to pay back the debt that we have. Right.
Well, I think the fact that you as CEO have been here since 2014, and that when the times were tough, you weren't taking a salary. That's a great thing. I mean, that right there for investors should speak volumes. So, thank you for that answer.
Yeah, and I not only didn't take a salary, but I didn't accrue a salary. What a lot of them do is they have their salary. They've got their $200,000 or $300,000 salary. They don't take it. And then when money starts coming in, they're like, oh, well, I've got this $1 million back salary, so I need to get paid. I didn't do that. I took $1 a year salary for the first 5 years, so I didn't do that. So we didn't add additional dollars to the balance sheet, additional debt.
Right. Well, hats off to you, Joe. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so back in January, you guys tweeted out that there was intentions on exploring and entering the metaverse. And bear in mind, guys, that I'm definitely no expert on the metaverse. I saw Player One, and that's or Ready Player One, and that's about all I know. So, but specifically, you guys had a letter of intent with a company called DevMerx, if that's being pronounced correctly.
Yeah.
And that was to begin a metaverse development. So. In particular, who is DevMerx, and what does Lvgi have in mind for incorporating the metaverse into the company? And how is it going to be different from the other handful of companies that mention the metaverse and do nothing about it?
Right. So first thing, let me answer the last question first. Well, I don't want to talk about anything that we don't think we can take on, right? It's really difficult because we get a lot of pressure from people. Where's your PR? Where's this? Where's that? Talk about more about what you're doing. And we don't want to be a pump and dump. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. There are hundreds of companies Joe and I look at throughout the week, and can you believe these guys have 12 billion shares, on the float, and they're trading 3 billion shares a day, and they've got nothing. They've got no financials. They've got it's just fluff.
Right.
That's not us. That's not what we want to be. And unfortunately, it doesn't help with day traders because, we understand that day traders trade on that type of thing, but we don't want to be that company that talks about stuff that never gets done. So the guys at DevMerx I met about 5 years ago, and they had a couple of apps they were developing. Really love the team. They're just, they're that young millennial, a lot of energy and knowledge and just great, just great vision. And we started talking back before Christmas about, what is this metaverse? Educate me. So we dove in. We started looking around. We bought some Oculus goggles and started perusing the rooms and seeing what's out there. And we started coming up with different concepts and ideas. And again, I don't want to really get into it because I don't want to make this a public issue of did we announce it or did we not announce it, and is it insider trading? Sure. So I've got to be real careful what I talk about, because we meet on a regular basis to go over, okay, so one of the things I do that I love to do and that I feel I do pretty well is business planning. Let's take a startup, let's see if we can monetize this thing, and what is it going to cost to develop this, and when can we see an ROI? So a lot of our time together with DevMerx is ideation. I realize there's something missing here. Can we do that? What would it cost? And can we monetize it? And how would that look? And will it develop revenue, and how much is it going to cost, and how long is it going to take, and what resources are we going to need, and how much money do we have to raise? And so there's a lot of parameters around, you're not just jumping into the metaverse. A lot of it's about planning to do it right. If you don't plan to do it right, we're going to end up in one of those quagmires where we're just shoveling money into a hole and not realizing how we're going to get out of this, right? So that's what we're looking at, and we understand that Meta is bleeding edge right now. It's not even leading edge, it's bleeding edge. But there are tons of opportunities out there. Everything from, owning real estate to developing skins to NFTs to, almost anything you can do in the real world, you can do in the meta. So we're talking to the subsidiaries and finding out what would be good. We're starting to figure out where the best approaches are, and a lot of that has to do with using the meta as a marketing platform. Can we develop things that can help us make a fun environment in the meta where we can also talk about our subsidiaries? What can bring people to those functions or to that spot in the meta that allow us to have fun with our the people in the meta, and also educate them or get them excited about our subsidiaries and find ways to monetize that at the same time. So that's kind of where we're starting to point the compass. But we also want to start small. We also want to find the things that aren't going to cost $5 million of investment and have a 3-year ROI. We want to find things that are $50,000 that could get us a 6-month ROI, right? Even if it's a little bit of money, it would be a huge opportunity to learn, to figure things out without stretching ourselves too thin and overextending our capabilities, right? So that's kind of what we're talking to DevMercs about. And these guys at DevMercs are just fantastic people. They've got so many great ideas, such great enthusiasm. Love to raise some money to get them going on a couple projects we've been looking at. We've started to do some pro formas, and there's a couple of ideas I just want to latch into, but it's going to require $50,000 to $150,000 to get the prototypes off the ground and really get things moving. And then it's going to create a marketing situation where I've got to market to get people there to then have the marketing opportunity to, it's kind of a dog wags the tail thing. So we're looking at, what is the best opportunity to open up the metaverse for ourselves and move in that direction. And hopefully in the next month or two, you'll start to see a little bit more action taking place as we start to put some of the ideas into reality. So.
Yeah, very interesting. That's a whole new environment that's going to open up, and it's very interesting. So
yeah, a lot of what we're going through right now is just education. A lot of people don't understand the meta. It's just noise, and the big education we're seeing is there's all of these different cryptos, based on Ethereum, but Decentraland has Mana, and these other guys have their own cryptos, and there's NFTs, and every time you exchange cryptos between wallets, this gas tax thing is insane. I mean, you buy $100 worth of crypto, and by the time you get it into the form you need to have capital in your environment, you've lost half of that in gas fees.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So you guys are talking about metaverse, Roken Vapes, grow facilities, keto. Is there a focus or direction you guys are taking the company long term? Is there some just focused business plan that you guys have?
Well, our original vision is to work with alternative health companies, right? So cannabis was where we really started cutting our teeth, and we still want to stay in the cannabis arena. What we've realized is in a lot of ways it was a good thing that we didn't dive in head first early on, because it's still the Wild West. There are still a lot of players out there that don't understand what it means to be public, and this was a narcotics business years ago that people were doing things with handshakes and cash and burner phones, and now they have to be completely transparent. And it's been a real education, I should say, when we start to explain to people, hey, you can't just do things the way you used to do things. You actually have to run this as a business. You can't just be a master grower. You got to sell this. You got to market this. You got to build a brand.
Right.
You got to keep good books. You got to have good records. So it's been a ongoing education. We're starting to find a few players out there who get it, and we're slowly starting to work with them, at least at the higher levels of conversation. We're working, I mentioned a while back that we've been busy working on an opportunity it's just a lot of moving parts, that it's bigger than anything we've ever looked at before. I didn't want to make it a public announcement or get involved in a term sheet situation yet until we really came together, right? It's every time we talk about it, it's like, oh, and what about this? And oh, what about that? And the gentleman we're working with, he's been really excited about this, and he's willing to get to that happy place where we're both happy. It's just trying to make sure we've captured all the little moving pieces and bring them together. And that's just taking time, and if it happens, great.
Sure.
If it doesn't, we just don't want to get everybody excited and then come back and go, oh, it didn't happen, right? Why? Well, it's not because we didn't do our due diligence. It's because we have a fiduciary duty to look out for the best interests of our shareholders, and we're not going to get into a deal that is going to kill us or kill our shareholders, right? So that's been a real learning experience for Joe and I, is that there's a lot of businesses out there for sale. What's the right business for us and our future? Right. That's been the thing that we've been learning some real hard lessons on.
And at the end of the day, we're looking at all businesses that make business sense, that we can buy and make a profit and get a good value for the dollar we're paying for it.
Right.
Yeah, understandable. And I think, what you just said, Devin, kind of leads into the next question. And it was about a tweet that you guys had on March 11th. And I'll basically just read the tweet here. It says, sorry for not communicating daily. Joe and I are working on a very complex opportunity and don't want to talk too much about it, as we want to make sure that we can get it done before announcing anything. This could be huge if we come to terms. Right. And so I'm assuming that was the same thing we just talked about in the previous answer, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
It's absolutely a fantastic opportunity, and the gentleman we're working with, he's, like I said, he understands what it means to be public, and he's trying to figure out the best way from his side to get the value he needs, because he's got employees that he wants to reward, and we want to reward. It's just, how do we make this work so that everybody benefits and it's not one-sided?
Sure.
And that it makes sense, and that the business is going to last and grow and have a real opportunity to become something incredible. Because that's what we see. This is a doorway into something that can be completely huge. We just have to make sure that we don't. We just have to make sure that we don't make the wrong decision or do something that could hurt us long term, right? So
sure, yeah, the terms have to be right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, and then so you guys had a PR on the 17th of March, basically saying that Roken Vapes, who we talked about already, you signed a distribution deal with Orchid Venture, which can in effect generate an additional $360,000 in revenue per month for Lvgi. Can you talk about some of the specifics behind the distribution deal?
Yeah, so actually that would be $360,000 in revenue for Roken. So
for Roken, okay.
But we can report it as Lvgi. So Pure is a company out of Canada, and again, it goes back to, they need a U.S. distributor for their cartridges, their vape cartridges. And Roken has an unique opportunity. They know a bunch of processors that need the cartridges, and they can work to distribute those cartridges to the different processors. And so they can take pre-orders for these cartridges. So it's basically just a very simple opportunity to acquire the manufacturer's empty cartridges and then distribute them to the processors that need to fill them. And so it's just a great win-win, because they fit in all the Roken vapes, and just it's just a real, awesome opportunity, because it also opens other opportunities for foreign manufacturers that want to distribute their products inside the United States to go through Rogan.
Yeah, awesome. Very good. And to kind of wrap this all up, is there anything else you guys want to talk to our listeners about? You think we haven't covered that you'd like to tell them?
It sounds like you've done an excellent job here, and you've brought up all the points that we needed to bring up, and you've gotten the listeners up to date on who we are and what we've got. And again, just let everybody know going forward, Devon and I are here for the long term and the long run, and we are looking out for shareholder value and company value, and we're being very diligent on making sure that the next acquisition and acquisitions going forward make the best sense for our dollars. We're going to be raising through the market, and when we start to have some revenue come in, we'll start using revenues instead of equity to make acquisitions. So, we're here for the long term and for the shareholders.
That's awesome. I mean, as investors, that's what we like to hear from companies. So thanks for your time, guys. I really appreciate it.
And just going on to what Joe said,
oh yeah, sorry.
We'd love to be, in the trader's eye, that thing that they can trade on a daily basis. But right now, we need to really focus on the long term. People, if we could get people to buy and hold, that's going to be huge, because that'll help the price go up. That'll help us raise capital. And this company, we were trading last year at 24 cents or something like that. We could easily be back there if we had the right investors really looking at this as, hey, these guys aren't just pump and dumps. These guys really want to do something amazing. They're working hard to bring value to the company. This could be one of those things that we invest now, and it could just be something amazing 6 months from now. So
yeah, awesome. Well, guys, I again really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on with us, and we'll make this available to you so you can put it out to your social media and let people know what the company's currently doing. So
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
All righty. Okay.